Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good overnight, wherever you are, and welcome to episode number 46 of the Music Relish Show. I'm Mark. I'm here with, going from left to right, Perry and Lou.
Hello.
How you doing, guys?
Doing good.
Doing all right.
Good. It's great to be
Sunday
back.
night.
I had my week off last week, but it's great to be back.
You were on vacation.
Yeah, 24-hour vacation. That's right.
Okay.
Oh,
But anyway, just to let everyone know, man, we got at the top, we're going to have some good stuff on the show. We're going to talk country rock, got some random relish, mention a rock magazine, which is always interesting from our childhoods.
Yep.
And, well, the reason I was off last week is I went to a Yes show, and I sent you guys about 50,000 pictures from that Yes show, and you're probably sick of seeing it, but saw them at the Bergen Pack in Englewood, New Jersey. Great show.
Yeah.
The Bergen. How many seats does the Bergen Pack hold?
I don't think it's over 1,000.
Okay.
I really
Nice.
don't. It's a
it
perfect
might be about
size.
800.
Good place to see a show.
Oh,
That
yeah.
sounds about right.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of big names there. I saw Jeff Beck there. Saw Asia there. They do pack them. They get good acts down there.
They also have plays. I
Hey,
saw
Asia.
West Side Story there.
Huh.
Yeah, it's very good.
Best Picture, 1961.
Wow.
These little theaters are the key to live music because bands like Yes and Toto that can't fill arenas, they can do these theaters. And they get a good, they still make their money performing. If it wasn't for these small theaters, I think live music would be really in bad shape.
I bet you they employ a lot of union labor, too.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's mostly volunteers.
And
really?
affordable tickets, too, by the way, that you get online, right?
Yeah, my tickets for $50. $50 to see Yes. Now, that's cheap by today's standards.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
You kidding? Yeah.
And
I remember paying
wine,
$12.50 to see Rush and being like, I'm being violated here.
But Lou and I were having a discussion about original members because you had said there's no original members, and yes.
none.
Right?
Most people would say
come on.
Steve Howe, but you know,
Steve
But
Howe.
Steve Howe's been in the band since, what, 1971, 2?
70, 71, yeah, around then.
When most people think of Yes, they think of Steve Howe as the original guitar player.
Yeah.
That's what I would have thought, yeah.
Phil Collins, the same thing with Phil Collins and Genesis. He's on the second record. So the first,
So who was there before Steve Howe? And
Anthony Phillips. I don't know. No, maybe
No,
not.
that was Genesis. Peter Banks. Peter Banks.
and
Who was that?
Peter Banks. And he actually
I've heard that name.
Yeah, I got his book, his autobiography. But I would say this: the two albums that Yes recorded with Peter Banks were definitely better than the one album Genesis did without Phil Collins.
Wow,
because
Huh?
I've heard that, but they weren't going to go anywhere. You know, Steve Howe gave them that extra dimension and introduced new kinds of guitar playing into the band. So yeah, but until Chris Squire died, Chris Squire was the last original member. And Alan White, sometimes people mistakenly say he was an original. No, he wasn't. He joined after Bill Bruford. So
Yeah.
So how was the show?
Excellent. There's a huge controversy, as you know, progressive music fans are the worst. They just have to, I'm right, you're wrong. So some people call me Yes cover band because John Anderson isn't with them. Big falling out, a few years ago. They basically fired him. I love it. I love the guy, John Davison, that sings lead vocals. He's younger. Yeah, it's not John Anderson, but I accept it. What I really like is, we miss Alan White. I think Chris Squire was so hard to take. And when Alan White died, I mean, one thing though is they got this guy in this young drummer. I can't remember his name, Jay Shellen. And when you have new blood, he's probably in his 40s, which for, Yes is really young. It's like a baby. They were a little bit faster, I'd say. Not too fast because Steve Howe has to keep up. He's almost 80, but he's an excellent drummer. But the driving force, I think, behind this incarnation of Yes is Billy Sherwood, the bass player. He was pretty much handpicked by Chris Squire to keep the band going.
You mentioned that to me one time.
Yeah. You watch him, he's got Chris Squire's moves down. He walks around the stage like Chris Squire. He definitely has his tone, but he's also got his own tone. Yeah. He can do the Chris Squire voice. Chris Squire had a voice that you know it when you hear it. Like, oh yeah, it's like a key.
Yeah,
It's like a mid-level voice, kind of raspy. You know,
I
He
can
was
see
behind John Anderson on Tempest Fugit.
Yes, actually, Trevor Horn sang Tempest Fugit.
Yeah, you're right. But,
now, what about the background vocals? Because Yes had a lot of background vocals.
They got it covered because you got Billy Sherwood, you still got Steve Howe, so they really got it covered. But the thing about Billy Sherwood, what's amazing about him is he first got together with Yes way back in 1994. They did their Talk album. It was the last album with Trevor Rabin, and he toured with them as a sideman. And at that point is when he struck up a good friendship with Chris Squire. And they did a side project called Conspiracy. And Billy Sherwood also just produces, on the side. He's always recording. He does a lot of these tribute albums. Mm-hmm. He did a tribute to Pink Floyd. He's a studio guy. But he finally joined as a member in 97, left in 99, and then in 2014, he came back in permanently after Chris Squire passed because he had always been friends with Chris Squire. So when people complain about this version of Yes touring, I want to remind people that Chris Squire wished for the band to continue. So when a founding member says that, I respect it. And he was okay with the lineup.
Well, I mean, if you get involved... Go ahead, Lou.
That guy also played on our friend Rob Littauer's solo stuff. A friend of mine, Perry, you've met him, Rob Littauer, bass player.
You had mentioned that, yeah.
He was a bass player in Philocinium version 2. He actually got to know him, and he played some tracks on some of his own recordings for a fee, of course.
Billy Sherwood?
Billy Sherwood, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a local guy like Rob Littauer, I'll say his name again, great guy, great bass player, to make that kind of connection and say, hey, through Rob's a big Yes fan, so that's how we met Billy through that. Yeah. So he got to play on his tracks. So like a guy who plays with Yes, if you can do it, could also play in your own music.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
DIY.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's amazing. He is on social media. He's a really nice guy. He talks to his fans. I mean, it's not someone answering for him because he's very techie when he talks.
Yeah.
And I do have some of his solo stuff. It's more pop oriented, and he fits perfectly with Yes. Now you're showing a picture of Steve Howe, and if you notice behind him, he's got a Fender cabinet, and that's what I appreciated about Steve Howe. He's still got the original sounds going there. And notice something else.
Bigger than him.
He's got a wire coming out of his guitar. So did Billy Sherwood.
He's playing. Yeah, they're doing that thing. Oh wow, how weird.
That's Jeff Downs on keyboards from Buggles and the Drama album.
The Buggles guy.
And he rejoined the band. They went through a lot of keyboardists. At one point they had Oliver Wakeman, Rick's son, and then he ended up joining because they did an album called Fly From Here, which was made up of material from the Drama sessions. And it just fit. So for a few years, Jeff Downs was playing with both Asia and Yes, and they did a tour together called The Royal Affair. So Jeff Downs would come out and play a full set with Asia and come out and play, and Steve Howe too. They would both come out and do 2 sets. So that's the Buggles guy. He ages gracefully.
I'm amazed by these keyboard players. When you see people who really know how to play the piano, their left hand is doing something other than their right hand.
Yes, it is.
And so you think about these keyboard guys in these sort of prog bands, the right hand is on one of the keyboards. The left hand is up here like Garth Hudson or something, somewhere like, yeah, man, like what talent, to be able to have separate your brain like that. Right hand does something other than the left.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that these keyboards, if you're left-handed, they can switch the keys where, on a keyboard, you're playing the bass lines with the low notes with the left hand and playing the melody stuff with the right. But the other way around, I'd rather play bass notes with my right hand than the other way. So you can actually get a keyboard that reverses itself.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool. A little side note, Jeff Downs also produced the famous album by GTR.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, the one that got the review of SHT?
Yes.
That
one. I'm one of the few people who like it. He's not as much a virtuoso as Rick Wakeman. Before Rick Wakeman was in the band, they had Tony Kaye. He was on Up to the Yes album with Starship Trooper. He wasn't a virtuoso either. He was more of a texture player. Jeff Downs can play Rick Wakeman's parts, but he doesn't do that normally. He's very just more subtle, and I kind of like that sound about him. when he did some of the Rick Wakeman flourishes, they weren't as smooth. Rick Wakeman's a talent unto his own, but he definitely does it fine. Now that's John Davis and the singer you see in there.
I thought it was Sebastian Bach. Imagine him singing. Yes.
He does he totally channels John Anderson. If you look at his mic stand, right, he's got the bells, the chimes there, which John had. That little black thing at the top of the stand is like he just does conga sounds and percussion sounds. It's exactly what John Anderson does.
Hey,
a lot of fun.
Why not? Like the guy from the Philippines who sings for Journey. Yeah. Why not? This guy can nail all the John Anderson parts. Cool,
Yeah.
But it's cool that Steve Howe was sitting down too.
Yeah, that
that acoustic guitar is bigger than him.
Well, what was funny was when we were on our friend Scott McLean's show, Milk Crates and Turntables, I mentioned seeing Yes. Mm-hmm. And Scott said, yeah, I saw him a year ago. There's Jay Shellen, the drummer. Excellent. And Scott said something about, the guy playing guitar was yelling at the lighting guy. And I said, that's what I saw too. He was yelling at his guitar tech. He was yelling at the monitor guy, yelling at everybody the whole show. He's like a crab, But he wants perfection, I guess. He just wants everything to be perfect for the audience.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe he's not happy with modern touring.
Maybe.
Did Steve Howe have to yell at his tech during the 70s, during the heyday, or?
You never know. He might have.
Yeah.
But touring...
It didn't get picked up by them because everything wasn't visible.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the drummer has a drum cage.
Yeah.
Where? What is the drum cage? What do you mean?
If you look above the bass drum, there's a silver bar going across and down. That's the drum rack.
Okay.
So everything is on that rack,
Is it supporting all that stuff?
It's supporting a lot of the tom. Looks like a lot of the drums themselves. There's some cymbal stuff attached to it too.
Very shallow-looking drums, aren't they?
They're not big. No, that's a regular 22-inch bass drum.
He had a very good sound.
He's got 3 or 4 mounted toms.
Yeah,
I like a kit like that. My next kit when I get one is going to be a bigger kit. It's going to have some drums.
Well, I'll tell you, I was close enough to the stage I could actually hear his drums. Besides just through a PA, he had a very good drum sound. He had just like Chris Squire and Billy Sherwood. He filled in, like Alan White had surgery a few years back, and they did a tour, and he could only play like half the show. Jay did the other half, and he really bonded with Alan White, so it was kind of understood. You're in the band, But he added a whole different style. You understand Alan White's style? It's like it's hard to describe. It's deceptively. It's simple, but it's not simple. You think it's simple when you.
It seems simple, but he's also playing those odd time signatures.
Yeah,
he just wasn't as obvious as Bill Bruford was about it. Although when I say obvious, I don't mean obtrusive or garish or anything. Like Bill Bruford just played that way and it was brilliant. But Alan White was much more subtle. He was slippier. If you look at his discography, I mean, he's also on Instant Karma, Imagine. Yeah. He's the drummer on Imagine. Mm-hmm. That's freaking huge, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame worthy already.
Absolutely. And Jay is more, of an obvious, like he comes into it and he can hit those, kind of like Bill Bruford. Like he's a younger guy, so he went through that. He was mostly a heavy metal drummer, and he kind of knew Billy Sherwood. That's how he got in the band. But he also did some, fusion stuff. So he comes from that background, so he can just crack off these odd times. But he knew what I liked about him is he would drum and get quiet with the same beat. He would textures. The drums would build up, then he would get quiet because they weren't jamming, but Yes music has textures. So he would be doing the same drum beat, but just doing to take it down, hitting it quiet, then getting it up. He was excellent in that respect,
Yes, we're always a rock and roll band.
Yeah, yeah. And you know who keeps them? And who keeps them mostly rock? Steve Howe with that traditional guitar sound.
Yeah, yep. I also noticed the drummer had 3 rototoms above the mounted rack toms. So that's pretty cool. Those things are still around,
Yeah. I wonder if he had them because he was doing some of the older songs.
Is that Sebastian Bach? If you look at right above the main kit, like actually right under his face, you can see these dark circular objects. Those dark circular objects are not UFOs. Those are rototoms.
Those are rototoms, huh?
Yeah.
And they all have they're all tuned differently?
They're all, and you can change the tuning while you're playing because they rotated. So that's why they're called rototoms. You guys go and bring the pitch up and down. It's really, really cool. Yeah.
Now, I will say this, and I noticed after the show, here's how these bands tour and can actually survive and actually make money. Their road crew is about 4 guys. So maybe that's why he has that kit like that. It's easier to set up. Sometimes in these tours, the guy setting up drums is also setting up Billy Squire's bass kit. We don't know. During the show, I had an aisle seat, and all the cables from the mixing console in the back were going down the side of our aisle, and they put these carpets over so no one tripped. So my carpet, it started to come up a little bit. The duct tape started to come up. Mm-hmm. So the steward came down to me, motioned to the stage, and one of Yes's guys had to come up. And so here's this guy setting up like Yes is going to come on, but now he's coming up. He's right by my feet. It just shows how rock and roll, it's got more economical. They're all covering more bases.
Yeah.
And if you notice, I noticed little things like Jeff Downes's keyboards had the classic 70s look, but if you look closer, you can see it was also simplified quite a bit. They're not going to do like a huge Moog on stage.
It wasn't like a Rick Wakeman sort of setup or Keith Emerson or.
But even Rick Wakeman's gotten simpler. I mean, keyboards can do more now. In fact, I think Jeff had more keyboards on stage than Rick Wakeman, actually.
I think about the old days, like holding around a Hammond B3 organ, holding around a grand piano, and
good point.
From city to city, and like a tractor trailer or something.
It depends on the venue, right?
Yeah. I would think like for a piano, though, he's probably got, Jeff Downes probably had enough piano sounds on every keyboard to
he didn't have an acoustic piano, but his keyboard had an excellent piano sound. They did a song, I don't know if you guys know, it's from Fragile. It's called South Side of the Sky. And it has a very long piano interlude that Rick Wakeman played on his Steinway. He had that. I know the sound of his Steinway. He had that in that keyboard, so it was a really good sound. But I look at these things on the touring front. It's like they just keep costs down. There's nothing absolutely flashy, and the people are there to see. Yes, they don't care about lasers. There was a light show, but they're there to hear the music.
Yeah, I saw some lights. And,
Yep. Now, the opening act, because we walk in and they go, "There's an opening act," and oh no, I really don't like opening bands anymore. The opening act was Roger Dean. You know who he is, right?
No.
Wait. From
he did all those classic Yes album covers.
Oh. He has a band?
No, he came out and talked.
Oh.
So he came out.
Cool.
He talked about starting engineering school in 1963 in London, and he was talking. He's not the most flashy talker. He's very inward. But he talked about how he got into the Yes album covers. It came from an engineering background.
Did they flash him on the screen while he was talking about it?
He was talking live. He was there with the microphone because...
Right, but were they flashing the images of the covers that he did? Oh, cool. Yeah.
And it was all do-it-yourself. He had a laptop on stage, and he was doing the slideshow himself. So he's like, here,
cool.
We'll do it. And at one point, he's like, I can't do it. Oh, yeah. He built a house based on one of those album covers. Like it looked like the Shire, his house. It's so cool. But he had one good joke, he goes. And in 2000-something, the most expensive Yes video ever made without any Yes music or any images of Yes came out in movie theaters. He was talking about Avatar because he sued James Cameron. Because if you do watch Avatar and you go look at Tales from Topographic Oceans and Close to the Edge, there's a remarkable similarity between what Avatar used. They had floating islands, And he was unsuccessful with the lawsuit, but he did sue about it.
Well, he tried, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, every picture we just saw was taken by Mark Smith. Mark, those are your photos, by the way.
Yeah.
So you had good seats.
And no cameras were allowed. No cell phones. It said no taking pictures. I just snuck those between the two people sitting ahead of us. I would be like,
Really?
You told me to get pictures. You told me.
Let's do a little. Let's scroll through them again.
Yeah.
Now see that. Let me say this. That picture of him with the sitar, what you call it?
That lute is bigger than him.
The lute.
So they do the first two songs, then he comes out, right? And he goes, "Oh, welcome, good evening." And then when I see that, I go, "They're gonna play Your Move, All Good People." I'm just tired of that song, and that was it. It's their Lucky Man. Whenever ELP would play Lucky Man, I'd go to the bathroom.
Well, let's see. Here's a Mark Smith photo of the bass player.
There's Billy. Now look, his rig. See now, This is
Got it
another thing
behind
of
him,
economics is it's all in one case and they just roll it out.
Yeah.
You know? He also has on his mic stand, I sent you guys a video of it, that little Mac, what do you call that? MacBook on his stand that controls all his sounds. So he doesn't have to go back. He can control everything from his mic stand. I think that's cool, you know.
And this is sort of the light show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was near the beginning.
Good photos.
And I like how Jeff Downs doesn't mind playing with his back to the audience.
Yeah.
Like he hits certain, it doesn't bother me. I'm fine with that, you know. Yeah. He ages gracefully.
Yeah.
Old Englishman.
Good
and
shot.
another thing I appreciated, and this is going to be a sin to some people, they did not do Roundabout, and I didn't miss it. I just didn't miss it.
Okay.
Their encore was Starship Trooper. I'm like, good. You get tired of some songs.
Right.
They were selling Roger Dean's lithographs in the front lobby, and they were going for like $2,000. I'm like, forget it.
Wow.
Wow.
So good photos,
show.
Mark.
All in all, thank you. All in all, a great show. As a Yes fan, I love this lineup. And also, just a little aside, they still put out new records, which to me shows they're serious.
Yeah,
they actually recorded a new album.
Okay.
So kudos to them. I'm a fan. Now, John Anderson, as a side, he's touring with this band called, have you guys ever heard of the Band Geeks?
No,
The band what?
Band Geeks.
I have.
They're on YouTube, and they do perfect covers of Steely Dan, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. They like play everything perfectly. He's touring with them. I don't like that idea that you're going to have a band that sounds just like the record. I like that this Yes was a little rough around the edges at times, and they made a couple mistakes here and there. You know, I prefer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are people who will pay to hear it just like the record. You know,
Sure.
I mean, you know.
And it's John Anderson. I mean, that's nothing. He's legend too. So, but he did not play on a John Lennon album. So
That's right.
John
Klaus
Anderson.
Vorman did.
Yeah.
Klaus Vorman.
Yeah.
Where was I?
All right.
Today, I didn't get a chance to tell it to him. I was at my Sunday morning gig, and we have a fill and bass player. And he's goofing. We goof around Johnny. He went blah, 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 on the bass. I was about to say, do you know that was the intro to like, You're So Vain? I didn't have a chance. I think he was just goofing. I don't think he even knew what he was doing. But it was like...
That was just a riff that he knew, right?
It just happened upon it. It was fun, kind of...
You do it perfectly.
I think Carly Simon did it perfect. We should send that video clip to Scott, by the way.
Yes.
Scott McClellan.
What video clip?
Carly Simon going because he says she has the best mouth in rock and roll. Yeah.
All right,
Scott
moving
McClellan of the
on.
Milk Crates and Turntables podcast.
We had a great show this week with them. Yeah,
We did.
Or them,
We did.
him,
With him.
him. Where's Jack? All right, moving on. Perry, you got something about a rock magazine?
Well, we all bought rock magazines when we were young, right?
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to talk about those a
Even
little
now.
bit. you know.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Cream magazine. Remember Rock Scene magazine? And,
Rock
Yeah.
Crawdad.
Yeah. You. So, I mean, I remember Cream magazine. That I remember. I remember that well.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one called Classic Rock. I don't know if
still
you
around.
remember you remember that one? That's still around?
Still around. You can buy it in Barnes and
Is
Noble. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember, but I remember and there was another one too. It was called.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
It says on the top, Jimi Hendrix, AC/DC, and it said goth. What was that from the
Let
80s?
me see if I get back to that.
Goth.
Goth. Right,
Oh yeah, look at that. It says goth.
But it's also got Marston Hotel on the cover. In 1960,
Yeah.
Is that a retrospective? I wonder if that how recent was that? Or
Well, it says 2020 on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've bought a couple issues of that magazine. It'll cost you an arm and a leg because it comes from England. It's a limited edition,
Well-
and they always put a CD in it, and they'll put a CD like a compilation of classic rock, which is kind of cool.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, for the car, I mean, what's it cost? $5.95 for
No, $14.99.
Oh,
Because they print
Sunday paper
them in
costs
England.
$6.
They don't want to lose money, so they don't print too many.
yeah.
But you get that CD. But I've bought it when, see this Morrison Hotel. So if they have a retrospective on something I really like, I'll buy it because the in-depth article on it is really fascinating. Like, you'll learn facts. If you read that, you'd learn stuff about the album you never knew.
Well, that was a great thing too. You know, we used to read these magazines. I mean, you still read Rolling Stone, right, Lou?
Yeah.
You and Mark still read Rolling Stone.
I subscribe.
I read articles online and stuff. This was that was our internet. That was our rock and roll internet.
Yeah,
we didn't have anything else.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
I subscribe to Rolling Stone. I used to read. Well, I'll see if you bring it up before I say anything.
Keith.
Rock Scene.
Then there was Rock Scene magazine. I remember that one too.
Yeah. And now, was this one a little more sensational, a little more or less journalistic than, say, Cream magazine?
It was more funny, kind of like Cream. I think Rock Scene magazine was like, they'd have a picture of Keith backstage, before a show, and he'd have a bottle of Jack there, and they said, Keith uses Jack Daniels to lubricate his guitar strings, like those kind of funny little things, like.
Such a great influence on a young teenager too.
Yeah. Rock Scene magazine. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And,
Rock Scene.
Gene Simmons more, on the cover. Right? It's Gene.
That was Yep, and there, I remember.
There's my magazine.
The biggie was mine. Circus magazine, right?
Yes,
I mean, I
Circus
bought this many times, as we all have, right?
I think I have 100 cop issues of that up in Kingston, New York, in my storage facility.
Oh, you mean you saved them, right?
Oh, hell yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Circus magazine was good. I can't, it didn't cost that much. This was before they got crazy, right?
Yeah, it was probably slightly more than a comic book.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I could afford
I don't know what the price could be. Yeah, they weren't that much. They weren't that expensive.
Another one, Hit Parader.
They weren't that bad. No. I remember Hit Parader magazine too. Do you?
Yep.
I never had one, but I remember it.
You remember hearing of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yep.
See, that and Circus lasted way into the 80s. I bought both of those.
Is that Dave Mustaine on the cover?
It kind of looks like him, doesn't it?
No, those lips are too small. He's got the collagen lips,
Okay.
He sounds. That Hit Parader magazine, I remember that one too. Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And this is what I remember. Song Hits magazine. This? Do you?
No.
I was a kid, and at the little soda shop down there, this was like 35 cents, and they'd give you the words to the songs on there.
Oh wow!
This was like the sheet music. My dad used to buy sheet music in the 30s. It had the lyrics to the songs of the day. So this is that's like Tin Pan Alley in modern day.
Well, this was like Tony Orlando and Dawn Time and stuff.
That's terrible.
And, but like every song that they have listed on the cover, the lyrics are inside of their.
So that's something you could sing that to your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yes, you could. Yeah.
Tie a yellow ribbon round the old.
And I remember those. I remember the Musician magazine. Remember that one?
That one. Yeah. Why?
This is when you got serious.
Yeah. I'm in high school.
These used to be hanging around the garage by Lou. I've seen these there.
Oh yeah, many of them.
Yeah. So I'm in high school. I start playing guitar seriously. I got to get Musician magazine. I'm a musician.
I'm serious now. And that's where I first saw the Pulitzer Prize winning album review of GTR called SHT. It's by J.C. Considine.
That's where you read it from? This magazine?
It was Musician magazine, yeah.
Leonard Cohen, Dixie Dregs, Lloyd Cole.
That looks
Jimmy
like
Page
Firm.
Still got it.
That's Jimmy Page
looks
still
like
got
Firm
it.
era Jimmy Page or a
I was
going to
say that's the Radioactive, right?
Yeah. Or a solo album.
Yeah. A Musician
That's one wacky
magazine
guitar part.
It was a good magazine. Musician. Is it
was
still around? I wonder.
Was it Vic Garbarini? Was he the publisher or was he the main guy?
I remember reading that name. Yeah, I used to read, who the editor was and all those things.
I think it was Vic Garbarini. But when Sting went solo with "Dream of the Blue Turtles," there was a big article in Musician magazine, Vince Garbarini, where he was hanging out with Sting, making the great article, great times. In Excess, an underrated band.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they're underrated. Great drummer.
Yeah. Great lead singer too. You can ask Scott McLean about the lead singer, right? He says great. Yep. Then there was 50 Cent.
Another one.
Rock magazine.
A lot of thought went into that name.
Rock. Nothing
heard
else,
of that
just
one.
rock.
Yeah, that was
24/7.
another one way back when they had Song Hits magazine. They had Rock magazine.
Wow. No, it's 50 cents. Were these knockoffs? Were these like cast off some like circus magazine? Like they are like look at the artwork. Roger Daltrey looks rather yellow.
They were
It's
reproduced
it
photos.
Deliberately low budget.
Yeah, it was probably on a copy machine or something,
Like on
and they bound it.
Xerox.
You might have staples on it, like a fanzine.
It was mimeographed.
Not glossy paper, but regular paper. Yeah.
Rock magazine.
But they were pretty cool.
Can we see the cover there? It said Roger Daltrey or
let's see.
Roger Dodger.
Hang on, let me fast forward it.
You know what? While you're going
That's
there,
very
I'll just say
confrontational.
what I liked about Musician
Roger
is
Daltrey.
Musician would criticize, even though they were a musician's magazine. They were not afraid to criticize people. Yeah.
If they're doing reviews, they're critics, right?
Guys, does it say Zappa does it again at the very?
Yeah.
Okay,
it says Bye Bye Tommy.
That's from 1974.
73.
Wow.
But it's the last day of 73. See, it's December
31st. Yeah.
So it says Bye Bye Tommy, Howdy Quadrophenia. But this is like a year after Quadrophenia came out, right? Didn't that come out in 72?
74.
Oh, 73.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're right. That's right. 72 is Who's Next.
Wow.
Rock.
That's cool.
Rock.
You know what you didn't put in there? There was a magazine that those of us in the East Coast, tri-state area followed, East Coast Rocker. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, cheap paper and all that, right? That was, right?
Chauncey Hayden.
How about Spin Magazine?
How about Cock Rock Magazine?
Was this the Guccione guy, the Guccione's son, Bob Guccione Jr.? Was this the one with him?
Yeah, I think so.
Spin Magazine.
And Axl Rose had a famous feud with him, and in this song GNR put out, Get in the Ring. What's the matter, Bob Guccione? You don't get as much pee as your father? He's just screaming that in the song.
Yeah.
Because Spin actually,
Axl.
they actually had the nerve to say Axl was fake. So.
Wow.
Axl Von Douchebag.
True that. Yeah. Bruce Morrissey.
Ooh, that's for Scott.
No, I think you had Musician Magazine was kind of conservative. Spin was a little edgier. Spin was a little alternative. Yeah.
But Spin, got they wanted the success of Rolling Stone, so therefore lots and lots of advertisements.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course there were, but they were also they were the alternative. Rolling Stone became a mainstream magazine, as great as it is.
Yeah,
the politics aside, but the politics are fine. But the Spin was a little more edgy. It was known as edgier. They embraced the alternative rock side more than Rolling Stone did.
They
initially.
did, yeah, yep.
Trouser Press, heard of them?
Never had.
Now,
one.
I had Trouser Press. I collected Trouser Press. And they always put a flexi disc in there too. Trouser Press magazine.
That's quite a lineup.
Was that English or American?
I think it was American. I had the whole. I gave the whole set of them to a friend of ours, Lou, called the Governor. Is his nickname?
I know the Governor's. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him all my Trouser Press. Because he's a record collector and all that. So
a blues rock fan.
I was moving, so I said, "You know what? Here you go, man."
Devo, Fripp, Wings, Who, and more.
And then we get into the Mark Smith era.
Blondie was on Trouser Press. Kerrang! It's metal.
I bought a lot of those. They were made in England.
This was for metalheads, right?
Yeah, I used to go to a store called Things from England in Cliffside Park. Now, I bought a Kerrang! Magazine talking about Metallica, even though they're from United States. I really didn't know about them. They were big in Jersey because they lived in Jersey for a while. So on their review of Ride the Lightning, I bought the English pressing Megaforce record label of Ride the Lightning. I spent a ton of money, and I loved it at the time, But they got me into a lot of bands. They also Asia. They did BOC. They wrote about a lot of American music. They weren't just metal, but that was they wrote really good articles, though.
Mark, when you mentioned Things from England, when Edenville was in Miami playing gigs, we were on a radio show, and someone mentioned some of the cool record shops up in New Jersey, and someone mentioned one of the guys mentioned Things from England.
Really?
So they were very, very well known. Yeah.
Oh, I lived for import record stores. That was my thing. I just loved it.
Yeah.
Everything came in a thick plastic bag, you know.
I have to tell you, I never once saw Kerrang! Magazine.
They weren't.
I've seen it. I never bought it. I saw it in the magazine rack.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, like, but also it says, you know, Bob Seger. I mean, you know,
when Seeger's in town. Does it say bitch?
It says REO
that was a band.
BOC.
Called bitch.
Lords of the New Church.
Doro.
Def Leppard.
Yeah, Doro Pesch had that band, Bitch. Doro Pesch was the singer. They were German. She used to just dress in almost no clothes.
Really?
They were horrible. People were just looking. Now,
Hughes Thrall.
Hughes Thrall. That's Glenn Hughes and Pat Thrall. I don't know if you guys know him, but he was in, he was in a bunch of 70s bands. He was around.
No, I don't know him.
Now, I found out because I got tired of going down to Cliffside Park. So, Perry, you remember that magazine stand in Westwood over by the movie theater on the corner?
Sure. Yeah.
So I went in there one day and I said, "Do you sell Kerrang?" He says, "We have to get it specially sent, but if you want it, I'll get it." So he started getting it, and I felt like obliged, so I would buy it.
Oh.
But, you know, I got bored with it after a while because they started writing all the same stuff.
And I'm sure Lou remembers, there was a shop on Broadway in Westwood. It was like a magazine place and a newspaper. You could get like the LA Times. He would have newspapers from all over the country.
I'm trying to remember.
I remember that.
On Westwood Avenue?
Yeah. On Broadway in Westwood.
On Broadway.
It was a little, you know, small little kiosk.
A kiosk?
Shop.
I don't remember. I've been
here
not
a kiosk, but a small little storefront.
He carried the Montreal Gazette. Yeah, I used to buy the Montreal paper there just to read about Montreal.
Now was it when you're coming down? When you're coming down Westwood Avenue, and Broadway branches off right and left. Lisa's Pizza's on the left-hand side. Do you go right or do you go left there? East or west?
You make a right onto Broadway, heading towards like Kmart, and it's on the right side.
Yeah.
It was on the right side.
Okay. I didn't go there much, but
he sold magazines, papers, candies, you know, smokes.
It was probably a front for something more nefarious because those businesses don't exist anymore. You don't know what went on in the back.
A lot of them were.
Yeah. Like that dinette set I went to on Route 46 when I got married. I'm like, there's a table and chairs in here. We're out of here.
But we don't sell tables. We don't have. We never sell any.
The guy came out. You want some?
It's a lot of plastic on the floor, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, we're good. See ya. Bye.
Well, you know, I told you I used to live above a carpet store in Lodi, and
yeah, you did.
You know, one Saturday morning, I hear the guy, "Ma, give me the fucking gun, Ma." You know,
shit.
I think I helped you move in. I helped you move into that place. I think.
In Lodi, I don't know. Yeah. I don't remember. Maybe you did. Yeah.
Give me the gun.
You know
Mom.
who helped me move? Eddie Brown.
No. I was with you the day you rented the place.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right. Memories. Eddie Brown. Small check.
Eddie Brown. Eddie's trucking. Yeah.
Small check.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I write small check?
Good memories, man. That was
inside, yeah.
Yeah, so Rose rock magazines, I remember them all. Yep, they were cool. Yep.
I will.
Did you have an all-time favorite? Did you show a Rolling Stone or no? You did not.
No, for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you need permission.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it could be true.
Oh,
could be true.
You know?
I get it.
Probably, yeah.
But
I don't know. I'm prejudiced against Rolling Stones, so yeah. It didn't dawn on me to click a shot of Rolling Stones.
We're so
sorry, guys. It's just me.
Yeah, I would consider it it's not a glaring omission, but yeah.
Go ahead, Lou.
Jan Venner and the whole Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing is just fucking horse shit, you know. And I kind of get it too. Like I read Rolling Stone articles online because I see them. That was a magazine. I liked it until I liked Spin more. So I think Spin was the last time I actually invested in a music magazine. I liked Musician though because it was about music. It was music. Yeah. It was less sensational. It wasn't about being a rock star. It wasn't about being famous or anything like that. It was about music and musicians. Yeah. So
my thing against Rolling Stone is like Mark last week. Mark showed us a picture. Remember, he goes, "Look at this. It's the cover of Rolling Stone." He flips it over. So the first page after the cover is an advertisement. So it's like,
but what was the advertisement for?
Fender guitars.
Yeah, that's cool though. It's Fender guitars.
Yeah, but the point is, if you pull out all the ads, man, you're looking at a
actually
fanzine.
Yeah, content. Yeah.
What concerns me is that they advertise cigarettes. It's like, wait, what year is it?
Really?
Cigarettes? Really?
Who advertises cigarettes?
Rolling Stone, big time.
What is it? That American tobacco,
American Spirit, Marlboro. They advertise.
They still do that? I thought you couldn't do that in magazines.
I thought it was called Native Long or something.
Do they have like the Marlboro Man? with a big billboard or something?
No, you know what they show? They show a bunch of young, cool, trendy people around with their Coors Lights, smoking cigarettes. They're having a good time. Come on. Really?
I didn't know this. I didn't know they were doing that again, or still did.
Well, they have to put that Surgeon General warning in there. That's what they have to do.
By the way, who is the most famous, most iconic Surgeon General of all time?
C. Everett Koop.
C. Everett Poop.
with the Captain Ahab beard.
You mentioned that the Revolver cover that John Lennon looked like C. Everett Koop. Right?
He had the Koop beard going.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lou. I agree. Like Spin became for a long time. I like to read it because I had more music. One thing Spin and Rolling Stone were both guilty of, though, they both played favorites. So there were some bands that Spin wouldn't give the time of day to, no matter how good the record was, and same with Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone famously hated anything progressive for years. They hated it. And then all of a sudden they're doing articles on Yes. Oh, they're great and everything. Shut up. You hated them for years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mea culpa.
Yep.
Too late.
Well, you know what? Moving on. Lou, you wanted to talk about country rock music, which is... Yeah.
We touched upon country rock in the past, and we've talked about certain albums by country rock artists. The Byrds, the one I always reference is the fantastic expedition of Dillard and Clark with Gene Clark and Doug Dillard. Anyway, so on Spotify, I came upon this by accident because they got this new mix called "Who the Hell Was That?" Mark's showing up pictures for those that don't have cameras.
Dillard and Clark.
That's Dillard. Oh, okay. Very cool. Okay.
You recommended it to me to listen to.
I did. So I have a mix called Country Rock Classics on my Spotify mix. So I've been listening to it, and there's some great songs there. It's a great genre. It's when done right, and by the musicians that do it well. It's a great genre. It's very, very important.
Who would fall into that category of country rock?
There's a ton. So it's a fusion of rock and country. It's like country played with a rock attitude. It had the same instrumentation, but the pedal steel is a very predominant part of country music, and in country rock in the of the late '60s and early '70s, and it was a very integral component of it. But if you go back through the history of rock, country music was rock and rhythm and blues. It was country music and rhythm and blues made rock and roll. So if you go back to like the '50s, the rockabilly stuff, it was all country influenced. The Beatles did songs like "Act Naturally." That's Ringo was a big country music fan.
Doing Buck Owens,
and even I've just seen a face. If you listen to the music behind that, and that's a McCartney tune, it's a very country influenced thing.
It is. Now that you mention it, it is. Yeah.
So the influence of country music and rock and roll precedes the quote unquote country rock movement because there was always that element going through. So a young Graham Parsons, he didn't discover country music in 1966 or 67. He discovered it as a kid, as did Gene Clark of the Byrds and other musicians. Ricky Nelson in the 1950s, he was a country rockabilly artist. Hello, Mary Lou, that's very country. Garden Party with the Stone Canyon Band is a very country kind of a country rock song.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah. So, when people think of country rock, think of the Eagles. If you think of a mainstream band, the Eagles, Poco, Even Linda Ronstadt, and that stuff kind of morphs into the Southern California rock scene, which
I
is
would
kind of
consider
almost
Linda
separate from
Ronstadt country rock. I agree. Yeah,
it kind of, but it's also Southern California. The Eagles, for what they were trying to be and what they became and what they wanted to be internally, hence the conflicts. Were a Southern California kind of country rock band, but the country rock bands that actually had more country influences. You can go back to 1960s. 6 with Bob Dylan doing Blonde on Blonde. He went to Nashville to record an album, a rock album, initially, but
country session musicians playing too.
Oh yeah, there was country, exactly. There were country musicians playing on it. John Wesley Harding in '67, and this is before the Byrds did "Sweetheart of the Rodeo." John Wesley Harding has got some country influences. Now after '68 and '69, Dylan did. I mean, it's a country rock album, Nashville Skyline, which is one of my favorite Dylan records. Those who think Bob Dylan can't sing should listen to Nashville Skyline. And most people say it's not him singing, but it is him singing.
It is, yeah.
But it's got Charlie Daniels, Kenneth Buttrey, who's done a lot of country rock music on drums. Also, so during that time period, in the mid-'60s, like, who can claim to have the first country rock record? It's very interesting because in that period, 67 to 69, 70, there were so many bands doing it. We mentioned, up to Dylan, the Buffalo Springfield, that was 1967. If you look at the videos, they're wearing cowboy outfits for one thing. But for what it's worth, if you listen to the instrumentation, it's got a countryish feel to it. And that's a countercultural generational anthem. So that was 67. So that is before even the Byrds put out "Sweetheart of the Radio" in 68.
And, interesting analogy that you just said, because what's the opening song on "Sweetheart of the Rodeo"? "You Ain't Going Nowhere," a Dylan song.
A Dylan song, yeah. and that was 68.
Yeah.
So now, but before the Byrds did that, Graham Parsons was in the International Submarine Band. You were into that stuff before I was into it. You were more cued into it. I think you probably even spun me some CDs, which I probably at the time did not like. So on this new mix that I got, I found that I really do like this stuff. I can see the relation.
Yeah.
I got this thing about singers though. If somebody I think doesn't sing like well, I have a hard time embracing it. It's kind of snobby. So Graham Parsons' voice never really grabbed me. People that have covered his songs have. But in the context of the Byrds, I can see the power of the songwriting. It's just a preferential thing. But the International Submarine Band, I heard a few songs on my mix, and it was a great band.
They were really good, right?
They were ahead of their time, but it's very conservative musically in a lot of ways. It's not pioneering. It's pioneering in the rock vein, but the structure is very traditional.
Isn't that a great thing though about music? Like you're saying, like you just caught up with it, and like now you're into it. Like, yeah, man, it doesn't matter who had it first or who, you get it when you get it,
and I was into elements of it. I mean, like I'm a huge Gene Clark fan. I push him on anyone I can.
Yep.
But the other aspect, the Byrds doing "Sweetheart of the Radio," and I did listen to it in retrospect.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, Sot Mitter sent me a whole bunch of CDs. Our friend Sot Mitter of Tennessee, and one of them is "Sweetheart of the Radio." I like a third of it. I think the rest of it to me sounds repetitious.
Right, yeah.
But I can see, but the songs that I do like are like very, very powerful. And I can see why they caught on the way they did.
Yep.
But so after this International Submarine Band, that's when the Byrds stopped being the jangly Byrds and became the country Byrds.
Yeah, yep.
So that's when Graham Parsons joined the Byrds. But so what was the big record they put out? It was "Sweetheart of the Rodeo," right?
"Sweetheart of the Rodeo," yeah.
So, which we just mentioned. Now, in the International Submarine Band, there's a guy named John Noose. He was a guitar player that Graham Parsons started the band with. Evidently, he's the guy that inspired Graham to say, you really need to run with this type of sound. This what Graham called cosmic American music, right?
Yep.
This kind of hybrid of rock and country with some kind of other, maybe elements of psychedelia. So he was in that, but the name Chris Etheridge, does that ring a bell?
Oh yeah.
He's in all this guy's in all these bands.
He's a country. He was in with his brother, right? Wasn't he?
Melissa.
No. Chris Etheridge. Yeah, he was in. What was he? A Burrito Brother.
He was a Burrito Brother. He was in the Byrds. He was in the International Submarine Band. He's the bassist, keyboardist. All these guys leave these bands as soon as the records come out. Everyone leave. In country rock, Randy Meisner on down. They record the record. They're like, I'm out of here. They leave the band before the thing tours. Yeah. So Chris, so he went on to the Burrito Brothers and other things, but he was an R&B guy as well. So he left the Birds and the Burritos.
Yeah. Yep.
Just as things were rolling, and Graham Parsons too. There's a thread here where, as soon as things get to a level, he's gone. They're gone. That's because you don't need money.
Sneaky Pete.
Right. So Sweetheart of the Road. So by the time, now you were saying Graham Parsons had a lot of his vocals were overdubbed by
I'll
Roger
explain
McGuinn.
it if you want me to. It won't take long.
Please do. Yeah, come on.
He was. You mentioned the International Submarine Band, right?
Yeah.
So he was under contract. He still had a contract with the International Submarine Band.
Parsons, that is.
Then he joined Graham Parsons. Then he joined the Byrds. When Roger McGuinn found out that he was still contracted to someone else, he got panicky. So what they did was they kind of erased Graham's vocal and gave it the Byrds touch with all three of them, with
I think
McGuinn
it's better
Chris Hillman and
I do.
Yeah. But of course, when you get the box set, which I have, you can hear the Byrds with just Graham singing lead, so it's really cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a version with just Graham.
Yeah,
I've only heard the release version. Interesting.
Well, Graham Parsons wrote 100 Years, and he wrote Hickory Wind, which is a stunningly beautiful song.
Yes. I think his peaks are amazing peaks.
Yeah. Yep.
Was it the Grievous Angel? That record, if not for Emmylou.
His
vocals needed saving there.
He was in a bad way, so Emmylou was in a bad way, holding it together. Yeah. Yep.
And I think more than Michael McDonald, I think Emmylou Harris is the greatest backup singer of all time.
Oh yeah,
she made many. Maybe. Yeah.
There was a period she was doing Mark Knopfler. She was doing backup and co-vocals with so many different artists because she's so good at it.
Yeah, and Alison Krauss too, like another one of those type.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so we're up to what, like 1968 now, right?
68 or 9? Yeah, we were talking about the International Submarine Band. So the Byrds did Sweetheart of the Radio. Now, the Byrds in that period, they went through so many different musicians, and they morphed into all these other bands. They morphed into Firefall. Rick Roberts, and maybe Chris Etheridge went out to Firefall. Now, the producer of Sweetheart of the Rodeo is a guy named Gary Usher. Does that ring a bell?
I've seen the name, but
from Beach Boys fame. He co-wrote a lot of his early songs with Brian Wilson. He co-wrote 409. Let's see something. Also, by the way, the International Submarine Band's 1967 record "Safe at Home" is considered the first country rock record.
Yeah, I have it, of course. Yeah.
And that was my introduction to that scene because Perry burned me a copy.
Okay.
I'm sure I had it. That was
I had it and didn't like it at the time.
Luxury Liner. That's a train song.
Got my copy.
Yeah. But like I said, after time passes, you come around, you hear other things, you come back to something.
Doesn't matter. You catch up with it when you catch up with it. That's the great thing about music.
Yeah. So don't tell me I didn't get it, because I hate when people say, you just didn't get it.
Right. Yep.
You don't get it.
It's at that point in your life.
Yeah. Well, Gary Usher was a producer of the Beach Boys, a co-writer. I think he was a DJ, but he produced also Gene Clark and the Godsden Brothers record. The Notorious Bird Brothers he produced, but he co-wrote 409 and In My Room with Brian Wilson.
409.
Yeah. It was called a good song about a bad car, because a 409 was an engine, some kind of car engine. But In My Room is one of the most beautiful early 60s pop songs.
That's a beautiful song.
Gorgeous. Yeah. So he co-wrote that, but he also went on to become a major early
country rock guy,
country rock producer.
Wow.
Right. So after before the Byrds released a record, Graham Parsons left to form the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Hang out with Keith Richards or something.
Right. This was a great lineup. The original lineup was Chris Hillman of the Byrds, an amazing musician. Amazing. I loved his book, by the way. And
so did I. Yeah.
Yeah. And Graham Parsons, of course. Chris Etheridge, again, the bass player, keyboardist. Sneaky Pete Clanow on pedal steel guitar.
Pedal steel, yeah.
Do we also know what Sneaky
Distorted
Pete?
Pedal steels that time.
Yeah.
What else is Sneaky
the
Pete
traditionalist
famous for?
crazy.
He's an animator.
He's a Gumby. He animated Gumby.
He animated Gumby and Poker.
Really?
Yeah,
Damn.
Sneaky Pete was animated by Gumby.
Wow.
That's fucking cool, man.
Maybe he did Davy.
Hello, Davy. God is watching, Davy. Hello, Davy.
Those are the ones they put on Sunday morning.
Yeah, early Sunday morning when mom and dad are asleep and you're making your own pancakes. You're like, what the fuck is this? So on drums on the Flying Burrito Brothers. Now before he didn't get he played on 2 songs on the album, but he was too inebriated to play on the rest of it. But he's a very famous session player named Fast Eddie Ho.
Ooh, yeah.
He didn't make
talked
the cut
about him sometime in the past.
You brought him up, Harry.
Did I really?
He's played on. He's almost like Johnny Barbado.
Yeah,
where the guy's got this amazing background where if you needed a drummer, he's friggin' there. But he didn't make it to the record. So for the record, they used a guy named John Corneal from the International Submarine Band and a guy named Popeye Phillips of Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show from New Jersey.
Really? You're
from
kidding.
New Jersey. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think the big song from that was Ooh, Las Vegas. No, I don't know. That was a misquote.
Yeah.
Strike that from the record. Okay, so at that point, so that's going into the early 70s. But in the late 60s, and I think it's a big omission as far as impact, and just goes to show the shadowy character of this man. Gene Clark is mentioned peripherally in this whole goddamn thing, and it's a disservice. They mention him in conjunction with all these other artists, but the Fantastic Expedition of Dillard Clark only came out 2 months after Sweetheart of the Rodeo. And I think it's a better record. I think every song is solid. I don't think every song on Sweetheart of the Rodeo is as solid as every song on the Fantastic Expedition. I think the songwriting is different, and it's for the genre, it's more experimental. It's country rock, but it's got those Baroque elements, which shows the scope of Gene Clark's songwriting. I don't think anybody can touch the guy. I go on and on. I'm a broken record about it, but I compiled the song list from my country rock classics thing on Spotify after this, and I'm going to send you guys a song that he did on this that I never heard until today. Again, it blew me away. It blew me away.
By Gene Clark?
By Gene Clark. It's Robbie Robertson learned everything from this particular song. I don't get. I mean, the fact you have to be a musician to get it, that's very elitist, and I think it's bullshit. Because he was such a plaintive songwriter and singer, you should be able to relate to this. But I will send it to you guys, and maybe next week we could play a snippet of it just to say. But that's a 5-star rating. That's a Desert Island Disc for me. It was mentioned for its iconic quality and innovative character. It's so unique.
This is the Gene Clark song.
Yes, well, it's the Gene Clark and Doug Dillard record, the Fantastic Expedition of Dillard and Clark,
which we reviewed on the show.
We reviewed that one time.
We did.
Yeah,
you guys, and both of you loved it.
The consensus was fantastic record.
It really is. Every song is great, and it sounds great today. You know, it's hard not to sound dated after time, and to me, it does not sound dated.
But it's a country rock. It's in the vein of country rock.
Yeah, yes, right? Absolutely. Country rock and bluegrass. Bernie Leadon is on it. Chris Hillman's on it.
Yeah.
The best version ever of Train Leaves Here This Morning, because on my country rock classic list, the Eagles version is the first one I hear, or you hear, and the Dillard and Clark version is further down the list toward the end of this set list. And it's just one of the best songs ever written. It's
one of those where you can't touch the original sometimes.
You cannot, and don't try. If you're going to cover it as a band, but don't try to top it. It's impossible. Yeah. Okay, so now those are the big people mentioned, or the most well-known. So lesser known ones were the band Poco. Poco was an offshoot of Buffalo Springfield. Yeah. The musician list is Richie Furay, Jim Messina, Randy Meisner was in there. Randy Meisner was the first bass player. He quit, like they all do. He quit before the record came out, and then Timothy B. Schmidt became the bass player, eventually the long-term bass player of the Eagles. It's got a drummer named George Grantham, and the guy's an underrated singer. He was the original drummer. He sang the Randy Meisner parts when Randy Meisner left. The guy's and also, and later, a little bit further on, Rusty Young, the multi-instrumentalist, joined, and Paul Cotton replaced Jim Messina in 1970. Paul Cotton had that song "Heart of the Night," which we did on last week's podcast. We got the copyright claim on. Rusty Young wrote "Crazy Love" and sang it. And so Poco became like a big
That's a
mainstream
good song,
success.
Crazy Love. That's a nice. I love the vocal arrangements on these
Oh
songs.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Poco were the kind of band, they could have been, in a lot of people's minds, they could have been bigger, but they didn't have the song power that the Eagles
Yeah,
had. They had, 2 hits. I mean, 2 top 10 hits or top 40 hits. I mean, what more could any songwriter hope for? I mean, it's such a unattainable thing in many ways. So, yeah. But other artists that weren't mentioned as such, and this is, Perry, you might like this one, Michael Nesmith of the Monkees.
He was a country guy. Yeah.
He was a country guy.
Yeah.
And,
yep.
And one of his songs popped up on my list. Also, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Mr. Bojangles and other songs. They had a country influence. Yep. They were also the first band to tour behind the Iron Curtain when before the wall fell.
I remember you mentioning that in the past. They were the first band to. That was a trivia question of yours.
Right. Yeah. New Riders of the Purple Sage, kind of a Grateful Dead spin-off that had some country influences.
Panama Red, was that them?
Yeah.
I was just going to grab my vinyl of Panama Red and show it to the camera.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to
do it.
Pull it down, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
It's cool. Right, this category is huge. This country rock.
Huge, and it's not just the obvious stuff, but I think it's a great category. It's American as hell. On Pure Prairie League.
Yeah.
When you think of them, you think of Amy, right? And Vince Gill had a tenure in there when they had I can't think of the song.
Was Vince Gill one of the guys singing Amy? Like was he in the band then?
No, he came in after that. But they had a hit like 1980, 79, the same year that Poco did with Heart of the Night.
I was in a band. We used to play that. I used to do
Let Me Love You Tonight.
Well, I was in a band.
That's Vince Gill.
Amy. That's Vince Gill.
That's
singing.
Vince Gill. Yeah.
I used to do the guitar part. That was my job in playing Amy. Yeah.
New Riders of the Purple Sage. There you go. Panama Red. And
you know what I love about vinyl?
Song. That's a novelty song.
You know what I love about vinyl?
I don't know about that, Barry.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. It's a drug song.
Yeah, still the only song I know by them is that.
What was their other big hit? They had one more maybe.
Well, they had a big connection with the Dead because Jerry Garcia was in the band for a while. Yes,
he was. He played pedal steel, I think.
Yeah,
they're kind of on a par with Commander Cody. When Commander Cody, Hot Rod Lincoln, is also a country rock song.
Yes,
this is the cool. You guys are bringing in a thread that I wasn't anticipating. So we're kind of riffing on the fact that the country music vein is very much ingrained in what we all know. So Mark, I mentioned Pure Prairie League, Amy. Also, Two-Lane Highway, which is on my set list. That is a rockin' song. I did not know that was Pure Prairie League.
How does that go?
Recently. Two-Lane Highway.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, where the hell did that come from? The guitar playing is great. It's a rockin' song.
Yeah. OMG. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So and also Emmylou Harris. I mean, she's a country artist, but she's been all over this stuff. Especially with Graham Parsons and his solo stuff. So her place is very unique in the country rock realm, where she's a great artist in her own right. But I was goofing around saying she's like the best backup vocalist of all, of the modern age. She's on so many people's records where she provides her harmony vocals. So, and harmony is an interesting thing to sing. So even the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt, Warren Zevon, he's more Southern California rock, but the Eagles and Linda Ronstadt, it was country-ish, but the Eagles, the conflict within them was that, they were supposed to be a country rock band. Bernie Leadon being a country rock musician, they had to morph into the Southern California rock band that they were.
Yep.
Right. So now some of the songs that popped up, and this is kind of the end of this little segment here, they were they're country rock classics. So they run the gamut from super commercial to not. So Take It Easy by the Eagles came up.
Yeah.
You Ain't Going Nowhere by the Birds, which you mentioned, Perry, is a Dylan song. It's a great song. That's one of the best of the country rock version,
that's
I think.
A Dylan basement tape song.
That's right. Yeah. And I did hear that. Did you send that version to me, or you might have?
I probably did. Yeah.
Yep. Also, Train Leaves Here This Morning. The Eagles version came up first. And I hate it.
I'm looking at the playlist. I'm looking at the playlist, Lou, and I see that a lot of the early part of the playlist, you might have been cringing at some of the stuff.
I mean, some of it I kind of liked, and if it's modern, it depends upon the sentiment. But to me, even though Bernie Leadon wrote the song with Gene Clark, the Eagles version, it's too overproduced. It's too friggin' slick.
Yeah.
It just no.
Yeah.
So after that,
Graham Parsons used to say it's too sugary.
it's too sugary.
About the Eagles, yeah.
Take
I
it
agree.
sugary.
Damn,
So
damn.
Garden Party by Rick Nelson and the Stone Canyon Band. I love that song.
What about the you
I
sent
do
me
too.
a thing of
Yeah.
Marshall Tucker Band.
We'll get to this old cowboy in a second.
Oh, okay.
Crazy. So what is that, Mark?
Oh, that was the Outlaws. Wrong band.
The Outlaws. they were Southern. They were Southern rock.
That's a different category.
Yeah.
That's a different. That's Southern rock.
We're
yeah.
in California right now.
We're in California.
Right? Yeah.
We're Mark. We are more laid back right now. Okay, so
that's me.
also
I'm laid back.
laid back. Ooh, Las Vegas with Graham Parsons and Emmylou. Great song.
Yeah.
Ooh, Las Vegas. So also this is chronological order. And then not chronological. It just came up. Heart of the Night, Poco.
Oh,
That's like
can I interject one thing though?
Yeah.
With Ooh Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It's got he hired Elvis's band to play, by the way. So
is that James Burton on guitar?
It's James Burton and Ron Tutt.
Oh my God, it's so good. Now who's playing pedal steel? Is that Stinky P?
Yeah, I know it might have been Al Perkins or somebody like that. I think it was Al Perkins. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good call, man. Good call.
Yep.
Nice. Perry knows things.
He's smart.
So the Heart of the Night, that was modern. That was almost modern day. I look at Heart of the Night, and that was a threshold from the country rock to the today's country, which had like people who like country rock and that were a little more conservative in their musical taste liked a lot of early today's country because James Taylor could fit in there. It was like okay,
yeah.
So Heart of the Night by Poco, and it did have that saxophone solo that was ubiquitous in 1979-80. But when we played that the other week, I couldn't get to it fast enough, and we would have gotten slammed for a copyright claim anyway. But the guitar's all flangy. It's very modern sounding. I think it's a good song. The melody's beautiful, but
you guys know,
it could be Eddie Rabbit. What's that?
Yeah, I went down a deep dark dive of Poco about 6 months ago. Remember that?
You did.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not hard to fathom. It's like very easy to take. It's easy to digest.
Yeah.
It's like a light wafer. It's good stuff.
It is. It's good stuff. Poco were known for a good concert draw because you could be at a show where there's 5 bands. When Poco does their hour set, you're gonna like it. The songs are good, but they didn't have that many things that stood out so much until those few latter day hits they had. So what else came up was Mr. Bojangles by the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and I start crying whenever they mention his dog dies. I don't care.
The dog up and died.
Oh,
yeah.
20 years later, he's still
but I got to tell
out.
you, when I was a kid, and I heard the little mandolin come in, like, oh man, I'm like, this is fucking great, because I wanted to be one of those guys,
Yes. Because you knew in your musical mind that was a great song, and that the way it was put together, when you know music, it made sense to you. Everything was very logical.
Yep.
Like the drum fill on Every Which Way But Loose.
Boom,
if you have half a wit of musical knowledge about you, you'll go boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
If
you see Clint Eastwood riding off into the sunset. Oh, sorry, that was Every Which Way But Loose.
Clint Eastwood's still alive, by the way.
Yeah. It's like 92.
93.
93, wow.
93.
Make my day. So also, This Old Cowboy by Marshall Tucker Band. That's...
Is that the one you sent me? Is that the one you sent me? It's like there's flutes and stuff in there, so it's like
jazz.
It went like in a jazz direction, didn't it?
I think that's an early song. That is to me that's a total jazz. That's not Southern at all to me. It's total jazz.
Well, not Southern, but country rock, right?
Country jazz. I mean, is there something country about it? I'm missing. Tell me.
There was something they kind of touched on. I always felt like an influence of "Going to the Country." Na 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 na. That kind of light touch with the flute. Yeah. But you're right. They had a very unique sound. The Marshall Tucker Band.
Yeah.
They're known for those couple hit singles, but they were lumped in with Southern rock, but they're not.
They were.
In fact, with Southern rock. Yeah.
In fact, you're right, because I had a trivia question. Remember some months back, and I said which band wasn't from Jacksonville, Florida? And it was Marshall Tucker. They were from South Carolina. Yeah,
And each of their hit singles all sounded different. This Old Cowboy got radio play, and that's very weird.
Yeah.
And then Heard It in Love Song. It's got flute also. And Can't You See
Heard It in Love? Can't be wrong.
Can't. No, I've never had a Marshall Tucker record, but I might be surprised. But judging by what I heard tonight, I might be surprised about what I might hear. Not that I want to hear it.
Well, that's the beauty of Spotify. Before you invest, you can listen.
That's right.
You could just do a deep dive.
There again, like these guys said, you go into these deep dives. So these streaming services, yeah, man, you can, Mark goes into a deep dive on Poco, When would Mark Smith go into a deep dive on Poco? But now you have the opportunity. Anybody, right? It's like binge watching on Netflix.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right. It's all rabbit holes. Since we've been doing this podcast, especially when we were back on the telephones, and I was telling my coworkers, one of my friends says, she goes, "I'm writing down all these sub-reference bands you guys keep mentioning," and it's
yeah.
So I think the more information, the better. That's the content.
Yeah, can't be wrong.
Can't be wrong. So getting back to the list, okay, 2-Lane Highway by Pure Prairie League. That is a rocking song, man.
Yeah, how does that go?
2-Lane Highway.
Yeah. Yep.
It's got a great beat. The guitar work is excellent. It's a rocking song.
That's not Southern rock. This is country rock. Yeah, because it's lighter.
It's country rock. Exactly.
Lighter. Yeah.
Yep. So also Return to the Grievous Angel, Graham Parsons. That's kind of hard to hear sometimes. He was in rough shape.
Yeah, he was in a bad way.
You know what? Can I say something about Graham? I'm the same as you, Lou. Like, vocals kill it for me if it's a bad vocal. Like, I'm the same. Like, I've had people tell me, "Hey, man, listen to this," and I'm like, I can't get beyond the vocals. Graham, he was one of those guys, kind of like modern day Roger Waters or Jerry Garcia. I don't mind the weak vocals. It doesn't bother me, but I know what you mean. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it, Yeah.
Because the song, it's easy to recognize that it's a fantastic song, too.
Yeah. It depends what your ear likes. I mean, certain people like Jeff Tweedy, I could hear Jeff Tweedy sing all day. I know some people, they can't stand it. It's the same with John Hyatt.
Yeah.
People like the songs people like covers of his material where I could hear him do anything. I heard some new stuff recently. I'm like, sing, keep doing it. So it's that kind of thing. Like I recognize Graham Parsons' brilliance, It's just, I like hearing the Mavericks do Hot Burrito No. 9 or whatever.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
But like I tell people, I don't deny or I can't downplay his significance. He was a true pioneer, obviously.
Hot Burrito, you may be sweet.
Oh, that song
I saw a documentary on Graham Parsons.
Fucking nailed it.
They said when the Burrito Brothers, or when he did that at the Troubadour or the Whiskey, they said all the women were crying when he would sing that song. Yeah,
he broke every heart in the joint, man.
And you know what? We love to say, if a musician comes from a wealthy family and he doesn't have to work hard, it's a thing on him. But Graham Parsons, it actually worked for him because he could drift, like you said, from band to band, do whatever he wanted. He went and hung out with the Stones. He didn't have to. That actually contributed to his career. Like, it contributed to this wealth of music we got, so it worked for him.
He could afford to hire Elvis's band to play behind him.
The fact that he was a citrus magnate aside, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the thing, he also had, there's a tragic side, The guy knew a lot of personal pain, which is where the songs came from.
Yeah.
Okay,
even Mick Jagger, when he was hanging out in France with the Stones, when they were doing Exile on Main Street, Mick Jagger had to talk to Graham and said, "Graham, go home.
Yeah,
really,
you've got a band. Go.
Yeah,
go.
Wow, I didn't know
be
that.
with your band.
Yes, he didn't have to. It seemed like whenever things got to a point where it was almost serious, he bailed out because he didn't have to,
But he always got a deal, though. There was always a deal for him in L.A.,
Yeah. In Chris Hillman's book, excuse me, he mentioned that, he thought the fact that, Graham didn't have to be hungry, which is why a lot of these bands folded up, which kind of sucks. Yeah. I'm going to say it kind of sucks for the musicians that were counting on it because, if that's your living, and a lot of musicians.
I read his trust fund was $50,000 a year in 1968 or 9. Can you imagine?
Which is crazy by today's standards. He was rich.
Yeah. When your rent is $300 a month,
But if he was a hungry
lot of money
musician,
for drugs.
Yeah.
If he was a hungry musician, he might have stayed with the submarine band, or he might have tried to make the Byrds work, and then his career wouldn't have went where it went. So in a way, that's, like I said, it's ironic that his he didn't have to
No,
worry.
they knew they knew he was not going to stay in the Birds. Chris Hillman knew that, and Roger McGuinn knew that. Yeah.
As I remember it, one of the things that he didn't want to go to South Africa. They were going to South Africa, if I recall.
Chris Hillman thought that was just because he just wanted to hang out in England.
Yeah.
With
well,
Mick,
Keith,
with Mick
Keith was,
he thought that was Graham being disingenuous.
Well, Keith, Keith was telling, Graham was telling Keith about all the, Keith was telling Graham about, the prejudice in South Africa and everything. He's like, just like the South in America, So it was Keith who kind of convinced Graham not to go to South Africa with the Birds.
Maybe it wasn't Graham's initial desire to. It didn't stop Bowie from playing.
Or Queen. Or Queen, or Black Sabbath.
Or Sinatra, I think, right?
Hey.
Yeah. But, okay, so, nice little side road there, too. I also heard Hot Rod Lincoln by Commander Cody.
Yes, good song.
Who's playing the Telecaster? Who's playing the guitar in that song?
I forgot the guy's name, but that kind of that kind of playing was like Albert Lee can play that.
Yes.
And Albert Lee should have played the guitar on Hot Dog by Led Zeppelin because Jimmy was just too sloppy on it.
Too sloppy, yeah.
Imagine Albert Lee doing that.
Oh, yeah. Heroin does not mix with. Heroin doesn't do good for chicken picking.
No. Now, this is a weird one, too. It's a song called Mama Nantucket by Mike Nesmith and the First National Band. It was good. He's yodeling in it. Mike Nesmith is yodeling in it.
Yeah, he was from Texas. Yeah.
Yep. Here's one, Prisoner in Disguise by the Souther Hillman Furay Band, which was J.D. Souther, the songwriter who wrote with the Eagles, Chris Hillman of the Byrds and the Flying Burrito Brothers, etc., Richie Furay of Poco, and that's it. So they put out a couple albums, kind of like a Southern California rock, country rock supergroup, but it didn't really fly too well. Another song, 100 Years From Now by the Byrds, great song.
Graham Parsons song. Yep.
Graham Parsons song, yep. Amy by Pure Prayer League. It's a classic.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's beautiful and sung very well. And also Witchy Woman. It was a remix rather, of Witchy Woman by the Eagles, which is the Bernie Leadon, Don Henley song. For the country rock genre. I think it's a great song. That was a song that made, I think, David Geffen say, that was on the Eagles' first record where Henley sang maybe one or two songs. And David Geffen was saying, that's the guy whose voice you need to sing more of your songs. Yeah. Great tune. White Line Fever by the Flying Burrito Brothers. Great song.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a cover. That's a cover.
That is a
country song. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. This one, it was a song called Rebecca from Long Branch Penny Whistle. Who was in Long Branch Penny Whistle?
Glenn Fry and the other guy. J.D. Souther.
J.D. Souther.
Yeah.
They did maybe one or two albums. It's a country rock song. It's not bad. It's not very distinguishable, but it's really good. It's sung well, played well. Yeah. But anyway, let's see. This one popped up weird. It was Goodyear for the Roses by Elvis Costello and the Attractions. I don't know what album it's from. It's Elvis in his George Jones.
He did a country rock album. Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and it's really good. The Attractions.
He was hanging out with Nick Lowe, and Nick Lowe was married to Carlene Carter,
right?
June and Johnny's daughter at the time.
Yeah. And also the fact that he was a fan anyway. And the Attractions are one of the greatest rock and roll backing bands of all time. They are rock and roll. Okay, this one popped up. Sister Golden Hair by America. That's a country rock. It's a country rock song by a band that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here's a weird one. Dan Fogelberg, a song called Morning Sky. I didn't like it, but it's quite country rock, but that's all I got to say about that. This is one I'll send you guys to. It's a version of Don't Let Me Down by the Beatles by Gene Clark. It's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
I think I've heard it.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that.
I'll send it to you. And this one, too, I was mentioning earlier. It's another song by Gene Clark. It's called Strength of Strings. Blew me away. I was saying this is a song that Robbie Robertson must have listened to and said, Gene Clark is part Native American, or he was part Native American. It's very tribal. It's way ahead of its time. This guy was, you can't call him a visionary because he was so ordinary and earthy in his music, but he'd do these occasional songs that just like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
I will send that to you too. So the last song on the list was a song called Miller's Cave by the International Submarine Band. Did they carry on after Graham Parsons or no? I don't know.
No, I think they only made that one. They might have been one of those one record only bands.
Okay. If this song is on that record, it must be a remaster.
Yeah.
It sounds really good. It's a great song, but it's interesting because you can tell this is what happened before.
Yeah,
it got distilled into the people who like Graham Parsons learned how to do his craft better and hone it down. So these groundbreaking records, you can see why they were with the benchmarks, but good shit.
Yeah.
Country
you
rock,
know what?
There's so much more, really.
You know what? I consider Ripple to be one. Before I was a Dead fan, Ripple was always one of my favorite songs.
Oh gosh.
No,
Yeah,
Perry, it's a great song.
I like
It's a
that.
great
Ripple in the water. Yeah, that's country rock.
At their best, man.
Yeah.
That was actually a single.
Jerry Garcia was a country guy, right? I mean, who played pedal steel on Teach Your Children Well, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
New Riders of the Purple Sage.
So I used to, in high school, I hated the Dead with a passion because I knew all these Dead fans. But I found myself listening to Ripple because I was a country rock fan. And also like Friend of the Devil. Mr. Stellingworth taught us that on guitar in music class. But they had some
Friend
country.
of the Devil is a country rock song.
Yeah.
Sort of.
They went through the American Beauty album was a
Yeah.
country rock album.
Almost
They went through
bluegrass.
that phase.
Yeah.
Jerry was a big bluegrass player.
Wait, I just love when I mentioned it. Perry went,
Well, I thought you were going down a dead rabbit hole, like.
well, they did a version of no. So I added this country rock classics Lou to my favorites. So I'm going to listen to it.
There's some wonderful music on it.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's funny. There's country rock and there's southern rock. We've done that too.
You know what's funny though, Lou?
Yeah.
Country rock has survived for years. It's still around.
Yeah.
Southern rock killed itself because it just got too
It did. Good
like
point.
a lot of genres. They didn't. Well, first of all, 38 Special was considered
became
country
a parody.
rock. Come on.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was about the booze and the coke and the rebel flags and whatever else, right?
But like Leonard Skinner were in the beginning. They were kind of like they were like America's version of the Hard Side of Cream. I always say. They had good music.
Kick-ass rock and roll band, no doubt. I think they're great. I love them. I really do.
But you can count on one hand how many great Southern rock bands there were because there were not very many. Whereas with country rock, there's so many good bands, So that's what also killed it.
Let's name the great Southern rock bands.
Skinner,
Lynyrd Skynyrd,
Lynyrd Skynyrd, okay.
the Allman Brothers,
The Outlaws,
the Outlaws.
Molly Cribb.
I had never considered them country. I mean, I consider them a hard rock band.
All right, Perry.
I meant Molly Hatchet.
I think I hate them. I don't. Do we put them in
either? But we should because they were part of that scene.
No, they were part of our opening act.
Reluctant.
Thing.
That's a reluctant four for me. So Perry, Perry did a sub reference. Molly Cribb were a Southern rock cover band in the North Jersey area in the late 70s. Okay.
Oh, okay.
They played everything like the record you heard. They had a fiddle player to do. They had the Charlie Daniels thing. They had the Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Charlie Daniels, number 5.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Marshall Tucker, number 6.
I'm going to tell you something.
Mark,
I was in a cover.
You're right
once.
though. You're right though. There's more. Sorry.
I was in a cover band once, and they wanted to play "Flirting with Disaster," and I'm like, yeah, that's a hard song to play on guitar. It really is. You have to get that shuffle down, and stuff.
It sucks playing on the drums. It's so insipid.
Yeah, it's not playing the song at all. Like I was in a band that played that.
Yeah.
All right. So you had who was the 6th there?
Marshall Tucker Band.
Yeah.
Now there are varying levels, like 38 Special. They were a new wave Southern rock band.
Yeah,
but and then they had some great singles.
They had great.
There's other people who consider the Allman Brothers the first Southern rock band.
Which is a stretch to me. Because they
were so much more. They were the bridge between the Grateful Dead, Southern rock, country rock, jazz. They were
jazz, all
under
of it.
themselves.
Yeah.
They were a category. They were their own category.
And as far as 38 Special, remember a while back I brought them up as I said they're a great pop band because they had great songs, but you don't look at them as Southern rock. You look at them as pop. They had some great pop rock songs.
Ramblin' Man? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Amazing. Cool.
But that's it. See, now we just covered Southern rock pretty much, whereas country rock, we could go all night and talk about because it's and it's so much more of a Southern rock. There was so many different genres included, like as you brought up tonight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff.
Yeah, enjoy that playlist. I think
I will. It's going to be on tomorrow.
It's a good one. There are some great songs. Compare the Eagles. Trendley's here this morning to the Dylan Clark version.
I have.
I mean, the Eagles, they can't be bad because they were too talented, but it shows how like a guy like Bernie Leadon, as amazing musician, and he's a really good singer. He's best in a band situation where he's not the thing.
Yeah,
you know, the worst Eagles song in his is "I Wish You Peace." That is a downer on one of these nights. I agree with Don Henley. It's schmaltz.
Maybe that's why he dumped that beer on Glenn Fry's head backstage, right?
Instead, I'm going surfing, which is kind of cool.
Brave
and we'll
man.
go surfing.
Damn, we're an hour and a half already, man.
Yeah, let's. I'll tell you what, Perry.
Holy
You got
shite.
some.
There's more
You
to
got
go.
some random relish for us.
I have a bunch of a couple of points of interest. I think are Bobby Whitlock. You know who he is, right? Keyboard
Who?
player.
Who?
Played with Eric Clapton, Derek and the
Who?
Dominoes.
Wait. You said Bobby Whitlock?
Bobby Whitlock.
Okay.
He was not invited to the concert for George, the tribute for George Harrison. He played
Why
on
is
All
that?
Things Must Pass. He played on all those records. He was not invited. He says he was blackballed by Robert Stigwood.
For what?
And I don't know why, but Bobby Whitlock claims he was blackballed by Robert Stigwood, and Eric Clapton never spoke with him again, ever.
Wow.
That
Yeah,
sucks.
so I don't know what happened.
Because Gary Brooker, Procol Harum was a piano player on most of that concert.
Right, but they were doing Bobby Whitlock parts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he was curious as to why he was not invited. Such a integral part of the George Harrison.
Okay.
And
So-
you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
Robert Stigwood is a tough guy.
Yeah. Well, Albert Goldman, in his trash book on Lennon, suggested that Robert Stigwood had Brian Epstein killed so he could get the Beatles. So, I mean, he might be a bit of a thug. You know, the music business is very ugly, as we know.
But we doubt that.
But
yeah, well, I've seen things with Bobby Whitlock where he's talking about the music. He's talking about Jim Gordon and Eric Clapton.
He worked with all of them,
He worked with, but also he's a really good singer too. Like he sang songs on the Layla record.
Yeah, yep.
So he's no slouch. But he's also mentioned that he's the guy mentioned that maybe Jim Gordon didn't necessarily write that interlude in
Correct.
Layla.
He's the one who said it was a Rita Coolidge thing.
Maybe he's a truth teller. Maybe he's a bit of a that kind of thing.
Maybe that's what Stigwood had a problem with him.
So maybe hence the blacklisting and
Now,
yeah.
I have to ask about this. I read this the other day. Maybe Mark knows. Roger Waters re-recording. Did he re-record the whole album or just a song?
Okay. Yeah, I have the CD on the other side of my table. All right, it's not a re-recording; it's a redux. So, this is probably the most controversial album ever released in the history of rock and roll. Because if you go on social media, it's love or hate, no in between. What it's written at, he wrote that album as a 25-year-old.
He was a lyricist. He wrote all the lyrics. Yeah,
and he wrote all the songs with a couple co-written with Wright and Gilmore.
He wrote the music too. Yeah.
So what he wanted to do was talk to himself, right? Talking back to himself as an 80-year-old at the end of his life. It's a very morose death on the door.
In his golden years. Yeah. Yep.
So, the themes of the album, time, breathe.
Yeah.
All right. Now, he basically sounds like Leonard Cohen now. I saw him in concert a couple of years ago. He sits at a piano and he goes, "Ugh." I love it.
So did he do the whole album?
Whole album, and there's no guitar solos. It's very, very dark.
There's no Gilmore.
He talks a lot. And he did that in his concert. So in his concert, he loved to talk about Syd Barrett. He talked a lot. The guy's really at the end of his life, and he's talking about stuff. And
all right. So did you also send me a thing that said that David Gilmour did a track with Yoko? That was a joke, right? Yoko Ono's 90 now, I think.
So it was the thing that said
it was like Gilmour, a meme or something.
Re-recorded Great. Great Gig in the Sky? It's where Claire Torrey goes.
Yeah.
So he re-recorded it with Yoko Ono. I love that. That was great.
I have to catch up with all the videos I've gotten over the weekend. I can't keep up with it. So Monday morning, whatever, I check in with it, everything that's been sent to me.
And you know what? Here's my thing, and I'm just going to state this for the record. As far as Floyd go, you guys know I'm a Waters guy. I love Waters. Mm-hmm. I also know that Waters those albums wouldn't have been good without David Gilmour. I'm equally fond of David Gilmour.
Right.
I have nothing against Gilmour. What I hate on social media is you got the Gilmour people that hate Waters. You got the Waters people that hate Gilmour. Stop it. It's like they got divorced. They're never going to talk again. Give it up. It is what it is.
Money. They're making money still.
Yeah. And Gilmour's retired, and Roger Waters, bless him, he's still out there doing stuff, So I don't harbor ill will towards Gilmour at all, but this will go down. Just follow the social media threads over time. This is really, people are just like hating Roger Waters. He might get shot over this. I don't know.
I don't think so.
They hate him, and I keep telling people on social media, it's not a re-recording. It's a redux. Go listen to the original. If you don't like this, don't listen to it. Just listen to the original. What are you saying?
He used the same backing tracks? And
whole new recording. The modern band with John Caron, who is a great musician.
Okay.
And all new musicians, and very slow. But when I saw him live, he redid a lot of Floyd songs very slow and morose. That's just where he's at now. If you don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah.
But
there's an old Willie Dixon song called Too Many Cooks Spoil the Soup.
Story of my life.
It's an old Willie Dixon song. I came across it the other day. Mick Jagger recorded this in 1973
for the
produced
Performance
by John
soundtrack?
Lennon.
Did he do it for the soundtrack to Performance?
No, they were in L.A. John Lennon was on his Lost Weekend, and he produced this track for Mick Jagger called Too Many Cooks, produced by John Lennon.
Wow.
Jim Keltner on drums, Jesse Ed Davis on guitar,
the fifth Beatle.
Bobby Keys on sax, Jack Bruce on bass, Harry Nilsson on backing vocal, and Al Cooper on keyboards. And you can find it if you just type in Al Cooper. If you type in Too Many Cooks by Mick Jagger, you will hear this song.
Okay.
Done in 1973 in L.A. And it's an old Willie Dixon song. And it's like Mick Jagger didn't release it until like 1997 or something.
Weren't we supposed to talk about Al Cooper? The Forrest Gump of rock and roll.
It's me. I have to get all the stuff together.
Good luck, because it's endless. He's the Forrest Gump of rock and roll. I mean, it's endless. Al Cooper was on this. He was on something we mentioned last week. He was on some session that we talked about. Maybe it was on Milk Craze. All over the place. Now, I wonder what Roger Waters would say about current events going on.
Anyway, go there. Yeah.
Poke the bear.
I have 3 pictures. I want to see if you guys can guess who these people are, okay? This will only take a minute. All right?
For those that are listening on their radio.
Yeah, I'm not. It's only going to take a minute, so I'm not going to bother with that.
The joy is listening to me and Lou guess.
Who do you think this is?
Lou Costello. Keith Moon.
I don't know.
Take a good look. Take a good, close look.
Was he Monty Python?
Well, he's British.
Lord, he does look familiar.
I have no idea.
All right, let me ask you this. Who does he look like?
Nobody.
Lou Costello.
That is John Lennon's father.
That's
Albert
Freddie Lennon?
That's Albert. Yeah, his nickname was Fred. Yeah, yep.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'd never guessed that.
Yep.
Wow. What was the name of Freddie Lennon's single?
It's My Life. Yep.
That's the girl from Winn-Dixie.
Susan Sarandon.
Pat Andrewski. Pat Benatar.
That's Bette Benatar.
The eyes. Yeah, the eyes.
Okay.
That she looks like the girl from Because of Winn-Dixie, the same eyes.
Yep. I got one more. Let's see if we can.
She looks like she kicked the shit out of me.
This is a mug shot. The next one's a mug shot. 1968, arrested for marijuana possession.
Steve Tyler.
Lou?
Steve Tyler, whatever.
That's Steven Tyler, arrested.
Right, because whenever he tries to say, he talks about he's all Boston. No, he grew up in Yonkers. He's not from Boston.
He's from Yonkers? Horrible.
Yeah,
thing.
he lived in Yonkers for a while.
What is Steven Tyler's real name? What's his last name?
I don't know.
Tallarico.
Hey, Stevie Tallarico.
Hey, Stevie Tallarico. Hey, Paisan.
I have one more thing of random is that I've told you the story about like the Turtles went to England, right?
The Turtles being the classic 60s Sunshine
the Turtles,
pop,
60s pop band, Sunshine Pop Band, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Graham Nash, they hooked up. Graham Nash brought them to a club where the Beatles were hanging out. And Howard Kalin tells a story about Jim Tucker, their guitar player, upon meeting John Lennon. And I'll just let you judge for yourself, all right?
And then our idiot rhythm player, I think I can say that with impunity, because I hate the guy, went up to John Lennon to shake his hand. The guy was wearing a three-piece mohair suit, the same suit he had worn on the plane because we went there that quickly. He had a kind of a Nero-ish shag haircut. He was a skinny guy. He was trying to look all mod. And Lennon said, well, you're lovely, aren't you? You're a lovely piece of work. What the hell is your name? And he said, well, Jim Tucker. And Lennon comes back and goes, Tucker? Tucker? They call you Tucko? Tucko? I can have quite a bit of fun with that name. Let's see. Tucko, Tucko. And he started rhyming. Well, by the time he got to Fucko, Jim was getting a little pissed. It was just hurtful and harmful. And at some point, Jim Tucker, the rhythm player, said, you're an ass, man. I'm really sorry I met you. And Lennon said, you never did, son. You never did. And that was it. Jim Tucker turned around. He walked out of the club. He got on a plane. He went home. He never played music again. He quit the group, and we were never a six-piece band again.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. He had a sledgehammer wit, but
Lennon did that for self-protection. The last thing he wanted was some guy trying to be his best friend. That's what I think he did it for. Like, you're John Lennon. Can I hang out with you? And he's like, I think he's trying to push people away.
Really think so,
Skin, no. If I met John Lennon and he made fun of my name, I wouldn't get pissed. I'd be like, say what you want. I mean, I don't care,
I don't know how the guy came across. If he came across too strongly to Lennon,
maybe
right.
John Lennon. My thing is, I think in the Beatles, Lennon could be an asshole.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
To me, initially, this seems unduly harsh. Now I don't know. Now the guy that was talking about Tucker was saying he didn't like him. So maybe Tucker was an abrasive guy to begin with. I don't know.
Right. We don't know. We'll never know. Yeah.
But, judging by the way that his fellow bandmate described him saying, I hate the guy.
Yeah, that was Howard Kalin. Yeah.
Howard Kalin saying he didn't like. Yeah. So
John could have been under. He could have been under the influence of some substances, just out of his mind.
Don't know. Right.
But, he also might have been an asshole. So how we approach Lennon? Lennon was known for not suffering fools gladly, and being able to see, anything I've read about him, he could see into people. So maybe he saw the guy as a poser,
Yeah.
The reason I said
he left music.
Never.
He got slapped down by John Lennon. I'm out.
Listen,
ouch.
The reason that I said that it could be like self-preservation or protection is that. Howard Stern, do you ever hear a story about Paul McCartney? He said something really cool because Howard Stern was tight with Paul for a while. And he said that, he got to know Paul and he saw him at some film shoot and Paul Howard for like 1 week. Howard, how you doing? Right. Howard, come here, Howard. Then like a couple months later, he saw him again and he was like, Paul. And Howard, and Paul was like, hello. And he says what he thinks he does is he'll make you his friend for a certain period of time. But because he knows he's so legendary, he can't keep everyone on. So he kind of pushes you off.
Okay.
And maybe Lennon was doing that, not because at that point he wasn't like if he was still alive, it would be much different. Mm-hmm. But I think he was just being inundated with Beatles fans and fanatics, and maybe he just did that as a thing. Like, if you really want to be talked to me, you got to get through this hazing. Who knows?
It seemed at that time that was the post height of Beatlemania, where they were stepping back from it. And Lennon even said that, when they were at the height of their early 64, 65, people were wheeling people in wheelchairs up to them like the Beatles were supposed to cure them because they were the Beatles. And Lennon said, we're musicians. And the fact that he used to laugh at it because it drove been saying that the alternative was like the absurdity and the sheer desperation of the situation was so appalling to him because he felt horrible about it, that his reaction was to react against it. So maybe that's, we weren't there. That's the whole thing, that living in that bubble.
Yeah. What's that great quote? You're either going to laugh or cry. I laugh. Yeah. When I get stressed out, I will joke. And I've been called an asshole. But it's like that because you
when
can't
things get too heavy.
He's heavy, man.
Yeah.
So
I have one trivia question.
Okay.
Lighten the subject up, Harry, really.
Okay. What was the first live album released by any member of the Beatles? The first live album released by any member of the Beatles, former member of the Beatles.
Paul McCartney.
First live album released by any member of the Beatles or former member of the Beatles.
Oh, former member. That throws a wrench into it. Pete Best live in Las Vegas. It's called Tricky Drum Times.
Yeah, right. It's called Tempo what? Tempo this.
First live album released by any member
John Lennon.
The Beatles.
John Lennon.
Live Peace in Toronto.
Live Peace in Toronto, John Lennon, 1969. Yeah, yep.
Okay.
We got it, Lou. We both
before
got it.
Before Bangladesh and before Wings Over America. Yep.
Who was on bass? Who was on bass guitar?
Well, here's the lineup was John and Yoko, Eric Clapton, Klaus Vormann, and Alan White on drums.
Klaus Vormann.
Yeah.
Klaus Vormann.
Yeah,
Alan White.
I'm amazed. I'm amazed by Klaus Vormann. We talked about him twice on our podcast.
Yeah, so Alan White was actually on the plane rehearing with them. Yeah.
Alan White,
and very very similarly, Alan White rehearsed on the plane. When Alan White joined Yes, he had a week to learn all those Yes songs.
I remember
he
saying that.
Was an amazing musician.
Yeah.
Hey guys, before we end, I just got to say something because my big musical influence is Steve Wilson. So this week his album came out. I got it. I just got to say, Steve Wilson album out, and I listened to it. It's not every day you get to sit and listen to a Steve Wilson album for the first time. He shed his prog. He's kind of popish but serious, dark prog, like dark pop, like Peter Gabriel, and I love it.
Cool.
That's all I'm going to say. No more.
Well, I have a look at Fleetwood Mac when they were really cool back with 1969 with Peter Green.
Good.
Right?
Is this video footage?
It's like it's an audio clip and video clip.
Are we going to get slammed for this? Can we talk over it?
Look, we're okay, man. We're good.
Right.
Yeah, we're good.
Cool. I'm cool.
Yeah, we're good.
I'll sing Karma Chameleon over it. All right?
No,
Karma.
But anyway,
Karma Chameleon's going to get
he's playing Greenie, the famous Peter Green Les Paul Greenie. So let's
sing Ripple.
Now, was that named after a jar of mayonnaise that's been left out in the sun?
Oh well.
He's so cool.
That tone, man.
He is so cool.
Both pickups are facing south.
Oh, yeah. Good point. That's not normal for a Les Paul.
No.
Is that Richie Blackmore on Strat?
No, that's
Danny Kerwin.
Danny Kerwin on the other guitar.
Yeah.
That's the 3-guitar lineup.
What tone, man?
But Danny Kerwin's playing the lead guitar
here. Yes, he is.
Oh, that's right. It's the other guy. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
good lyrics.
Yeah.
But the tone on that Les Paul, man.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not getting the tone though. What am I missing?
All right, let's
it's very distorted,
It's
but
hard
in a
to tell
good
in
way,
here,
in
yeah.
a unique way.
yeah. We'll talk about that after we see one more clip. All right, like Danny Kerwin plays the lead on this. Mick. I don't know who the guy with the Strat is. Like you said,
right.
I don't know who that is.
Playing the Shakers.
They had 3 guitars for a while. I'll get his name.
Well, Peter Green, man, this guy was fantastic.
Now, when I talk to God, I know you'd understand. He said, stick by me and I'll be your guiding hand. But don't ask me what I think of you. I might not give the answer that you want me to.
Yeah. You hear that?
It almost sounds like an acoustic guitar amplified.
Yeah, that's Greenie. That's Greenie. That's his Les Paul, and there it is. So that this guitar is. You heard the story, right? Where he traded Rory Gallagher. Didn't he give it to Rory? Didn't Rory Gallagher have it after Peter Green? Mark?
Yes, I believe so. Yes,
Right?
yes.
And then now it's in possession of Kirk Hammett, the guy from Metallica. But both pickups are facing south. So what happened was the unique tone apparently is that Peter Green had the neck pickup worked on, and the guy used, instead of using braided wire, he used a different type of wire, and he did something to the polarity of the pickup. And so that's that unique sound, apparently, that you only get from the Greenie Les Paul. And, you know, most Les Pauls, the top neck pickup is facing north, the bridge pickup's facing south. These are both facing south.
Okay.
So there's something about the uniqueness of that guitar.
That third guitar player with the Strat was Jeremy Spencer. That was
Jeremy Spencer. Yeah, I remember that name from the old Fleetwood Mac days. Yeah.
Yep. And on that album, that Then Play On, which Well is on, he didn't have any time on that album. They felt bad about it, so they gave him most of the next album. I wasn't a fan of his, but he's the one that famously left the band in L.A. He joined the church. He never quit the church. He was with them till
Now, there's another thing about catching up with this. Mark has been telling me about Peter Green for years. I've been hearing about Peter Green. And I just caught up. I'm getting into some, Peter Green stuff. I know he wrote Black Magic Woman, and I've heard the Fleetwood Mac original version of Black Magic Woman and all that. Like, yeah.
If you want to hear where Peter Green's head was at when he was really getting, seriously not with it, listen to Green Monalishi, which Judas Priest made famously into a heavy metal song, but listen to the original version and you think this is 1969. Where was Peter Green's head? He was definitely,
So what happened to him? He became a schizo or something?
He did drugs, did LSD, but he had a solo career. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then he came back. He did a bunch of solo albums. Never, really did much. They weren't that popular, but he was always top of the musicians list. But he was erratic. Yeah. So he would do an album, but he may not tour. He would tour. He may not play. He may quit the tour.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
I believe he died, right?
About 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he, in certain circles, this guy's so well respected. Right? Which is why Kirk Hammett.
He's known for the tone. So I need to hear more of this. I need to compare it to something.
Okay,
I like the sound of what I heard. I've always have.
Well, compare the sound of what you just heard to like a Jimmy Page guitar.
Okay,
you know what I mean. It's Jimmy Page always had a Les Paul too.
The Les Paul, yeah.
Okay. Go to Spotify and listen to Then Play On. That was his zenith with the band, because that was his album. That was his smile. That was his, anytime one member of a band takes control. And there's some songs in there. It's a little psychedelic at times. It's a great album. And just listen
this is
for
a Fleetwood Mac standard, by the way. I've heard Lindsey Buckingham play guitar on this.
He does it so good.
Doesn't do it like Peter Green, though.
You know what? He adopted it. He did a great job with it.
Well,
he's going,
Lindsey Buckingham is a fantastic guitar player. Yeah.
That was the only song that they ever played from that era. Like, they continued it into the 80s. Yeah.
From the old days. Yeah, from the original day, right?
And the reason is that Lindsey Buckingham, didn't he say he was a big Peter? Then Play On was his one of his favorite albums.
Yeah, he was a fan, absolutely. Which is why he wanted to join the band too.
Yeah,
and Mick
Fleetwood was really good on that song.
That's right. Oh yeah,
yeah.
One of the greatest drummers in classic rock and rock too.
Steady.
I'd have to agree with you on that one.
Not only steady, he's like a metronome. Like the guy shouldn't play track.
Yeah. And tribal too,
And tribal.
Yes,
I do think the '80s period was not him at his best, because he was playing pop music that didn't showcase what he could do.
Show, right?
No, I think that was the last great song he did.
Yeah.
Like Big Love, even though the songs were good.
But there was a lot of Lindsey with drum machines, the drum machine.
I don't think it showcased Mick what he could do in the context of a song as a drummer. And not be a drum star.
On Tusk, right?
If you read his autobiography, he doesn't mind that Lindsey brought the drum machines, because he saw Lindsey as a composer, as a symphonic composer. He said that was part of, like, he was the one drummer that didn't resist the drum machines. He's doing my job, but whatever.
Well, also because he had a drum identity before that. When Rumors came out, a lot of the commentary I heard was the fact that a lot of people, even like DJs like Dave Herman on WNEW, were saying, listen to the drums. So he went into that modern era being very secure with himself, also because of his ability, but also because he had a past behind him. So the new technology wouldn't intimidate him. But I do think his sound was lost in that modern production, like a lot of drummers were. Frank Beard from ZZ Top, one of those big successful records, Eliminator, Decimator, whatever. He was saying, like, I'm playing monkey beats, but I'm also being augmented by technology. So
like Dave Edmunds was one of those guys that produced some of that mechanized stuff for ZZ Top, right?
Who was that? Dave Edmunds.
I think he produced some of that stuff. I
thought it was Bill Ham.
Well, Dave Edmunds did something for them sometime in the 80s, I think. Yep.
Well, and the other thing is Frank Beard was the one without a beard. That was a weird part.
He had a mustache. He should have been called Frank Mustache.
Listen, you know what? I walked out on ZZ Top. We went to a double bill. Went with Tom Spallone. Kansas opened for them. Kansas are great. They come out, and I like ZZ Top. I like their old stuff. They started doing the blues, but it was slowing down so much, like dun, dun. And I looked at Tom and I go, "You want to go? We could beat the rush. We can get back home, because we were at the Garden State Arts Center. We left. I very rarely leave a concert, but I just didn't like it. And I'm sorry. Maybe it was better. And I thought, but Billy Gibbons is a great guitarist, economical in playing, doesn't play a lot of notes.
Yeah, he's economical, but I don't consider him to be one of the fabulous guitar players out there.
Yeah, he is what he is. He does what he does good.
Correct. He does what he does. Yeah.
There's also a business reason to turn him into a legendary guitar player, because it helps the record label. It helps ZZ Top. I think that he's pushed up into that stratosphere.
Well, interesting you said business, because go ahead, Lou.
He's known as a very eccentric individual. So I think them going from their LaGrange period into like the modern day with Eliminator and Sharp Dressed Man was something where it's pretty innovative, because he was still playing blues licks, but he took that simple formula. His guitar playing is not very complicated, and turned it into like a formula.
By the way, talk about tone.
Well,
right.
In fact, Mark Knopfler, when he did Money for Nuffling on Brothers in Arms, he probably got in contact with Billy Gibbons and said, "How do you get that sound?" And Billy Gibbons
Yeah.
said, "I melt down the fenders of old '57 Chevys or something." Like
Yeah.
something,
And
"Fuck
you know
you."
what? Like we discussed in
Don't
the past, Knopfler nailed it anyway with.
Well, he did. He did.
So
Mark
what,
Knopfler,
right?
Mark, he's one of my favorite guitar players.
He's a great guitar player.
He really is.
Yeah.
The stuff on the first Dire Straits records, his soundtrack work for Local Hero. The guy plays beautifully.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear
He's very humble too. He's very humble.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the Nottingham Hillbillies?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's
yeah.
good country rock, right? You know,
Yes,
in
yeah.
English style.
Yeah.
English style.
Yes, Mark. It is. Well, that's a great correlation to what we're talking about tonight.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of countryish. I think that was his answer to the Traveling Wilburys.
I would think that too. Yeah.
Now, going back to Billy Gibbons, I'll say another thing that he said, which kind of pissed me off. Even when I was a teenager, I never listened to. He loved to come out and say, "I did right-handed tapping before Eddie." Now, I hear it. I listen to Tres Hombres. There's a couple songs where what he does is he bends a note, then he puts his finger on the neck. So he goes, "Doo."
Yeah.
That's not what Eddie was doing. So don't say that. Like, come on. What Eddie was doing was totally different.
You know.
You know, he was trying to steal that. Don't go up. Like, don't say that. Just leave it alone, you know?
Well, you know, do you think he was trying to steal thunder or you know, just demanding the I mean, come on. I mean, many guys were innovative, you know?
Of course.
Yeah.
Wink Ray, right? With the simplicity.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 Beatles I never heard. There's 1,000 Bruce Springsteens that were never heard. The Beatles, same thing. Perry, what is on your shirt? What's on your shirt? It's a record. It's a 45.
It's Nowhere Man. It's the cover from it's the 45. Nowhere
Capitol.
Man.
It's Capitol Records.
It's a Capitol logo.
I'm thinking
So cool.
Flavor Flav with the
Could
clock.
be a Beach Boys,
you know?
it could be a Beach Boy record too, but it happens to be Nowhere Man by Das Beatles.
Nice shirt. Nice shirt.
And Verklempt.
But you got to go, yo, boy. That could be a clock, you know. I mean,
in the key of E major. Nowhere Man is in the key of E major. E major. Not Lee majors, but E majors.
There's this guy on friggin' on the internet. This kind of bugs me, man. Like he's one of these guys. Like
put that guitar down, Mark.
He'll teach you how to play the Beatles. You know, he'll teach you how to play Nowhere Man, right? So he's so rich or so whatever. Like, you know, he'll pull out a fucking Epiphone just like John Lennon had. Then he'll pull out a Rickenbacker 12-string just like who are you? Like, can't you just do it on
who are you?
Can't you just show me the part on your one goddamn guitar?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, then you're the guy on drums too. So now it's boring now. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what rock and roll's become. How much money do I have to buy the best instrument?
They had to have a Hofner bass, like, you know what I mean?
It's sicker than that because when he goes to sleep at night, he wears a Beatle wig when he goes to bed at night.
Probably,
yeah. He sleeps in the 1963 silver, like the gray Beatle collarless suit jacket. He sleeps in that. Yeah.
Yes, but you can show me how to play the song without having to show me on a Rickenbacker. You know?
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean? He has to own every Beatle guitar that there was. Like, what a douche.
Right.
You know?
What a douche.
Douchebag.
Well, wait, to quote our friend Scott.
I'm clean. So I'm like,
Oh,
well, anyway, what do you want to do, Mark?
I think we had a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you say? You got anything else, Lou?
I think it's maybe time to land this plane.
Yeah.
Really?
Someone's got a pizza to make.
That's right.
I'm starving.
Lou has to make a pizza pie.
Listen,
I've hardly eaten today. I've had 4 beers.
I've had 4 wines.
How did I do?
You must be tipsy.
I want to say thanks.
I'm fine.
Thanks to our new subscribers. And if you like our show, whatever platform you're listening to it on, click like. If you can subscribe, please click subscribe.
Yeah. Click
we have
like.
a wealth of new information every week.
Algorithm. Yeah.
And depending on how many beers and wines Lou and Mark have on an empty stomach, depends on how the show will go. I think it went good tonight.
I think Mark can read this, right?
And, you know, just so you know, if wherever you're listening to on is fine, but we're also available on Apple. Google Podcast, Spotify, Overcast, Podchaser, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, Amazon Alexa, Odyssey, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Facebook may not be available the next day, but Facebook will be available when Mark stops drinking wine and actually puts the show up. Right?
And Plastercast.
Plastercasters.
I'm on it.
I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Uh-oh. Play an original song, Mark. Don't worry about the cover songs. Don't play Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper. I'll cut it out, man. Let me go Joe Biden on you. Come on, man.
Come on, man. You want me to play some...
Will you shut up, man? Asheville Skyline.
Asheville Skyline. Recorded at
Single White Sound Studios.
Single White Sound Studios in Barnardsville, North Carolina.
Played by Mark Smith, Lou Colicchio, Perry Dedovich.
Yeah.
Engineered by Lou Colicchio.
Yeah, you were running a machine, man. It was your machine. The machine Levine.
In the middle of the room was a golden retriever beagle mix named Buddy. That was in the middle of the room.
I have a picture of Buddy at a microphone.
Yes, you do.
I do, yeah.
He had a beautiful singing voice.
Next week we'll
okay.
Put it up.
Yes, we please put Buddy up on the show.
Yeah. Buddy,
my Zen master. He visits me. Spirit guide.
Oh, look! Listen to Mark. He's redoing it.
He's shredding.
G&L Telly.
Why did you play that the first time, Mark?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, really.
I can't tell if that's Zen or him now.
Yeah, really.
Oh, I got a bad pot. Listen, you hear that?
No. Covered a lot of ground tonight, man.
That's where I should have
rock
went.
magazines, country rock.
Yep.
Some Fleetwood Mac.
Yep. Many rabbit holes to dive down.
Yeah,
rabbit holes in a.
If you're interested, you know.
Yep.
That's what we do here. Music history.
Oh yeah.
Content.
Beautiful end. Perfect.
Beautiful. Digital creators.
Bye, everybody.
Influencers.
Are we done?
Well, we're done. Whoever's somebody said goodnight.
Those fucking bastards. Are they happy now?
No.
Who are you to talk to me like that? You little Jiminy Cricket pest bastard.
You guys want to hear my fart noise? You want to hear my fart noise? Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
No, you did not.
Enjoy your pizza.
Enjoy your disease-ridden cock.
You're not making it in a microwave, right?
No, come on, man. Oh, we still recording.
Dominoes.
How could I say that to you? I know you better. Like, you're a good cook, man.
Of course.
I've had many meals at your place.
Yes, you have. And
many.
And now the next time you come down, I've learned to use my charcoal grill as a smoker. So now what I do is I make a charcoal chain, and I smoke ribs for 5 hours, and they come out amazing.
Nice. I remember one time we were down by you and you barbecued. We were having brats.
Yes.
Yes.
And the gas attacks were phenomenal. I never had one about 6 hours later.
But my favorite, when Perry and Corey came down, we went to McDonald's. Perry gives Corey $50 and says, "Get some food." Corey goes back with this like a shopping cart full of McDonald's stuff. We came back to the single wide. We ate. The next day, I'm in my room. Perry gets up. He's in the kitchen. He goes, "I ate like Morgan Spurlock last night." It was horrible.
By the way, folks,
our sodium levels were through the roof.
We were high. We're going to get high.
We're giving you a free sample of our post-show party, just so you know, because we're still recording. Yeah.
We're still on.
Yeah, no.
All right. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Fuck you.
Farewell.